Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be discussing the first module of Distributed Database Management System. So, this is an introduction of what Distributed Database Management System is all about. So, for this particular module, you are expected to understand the following or to have the following after the discussion. So you should be able to describe the different database concepts or what is really the concept of databases. And then you have to compare the different data distribution design alternatives for distributed database management system. And you should be able to outline the different issues related to security and semantic integrity control of centralized and distributed database systems. Right. Now, for the concept of distributed database and for the database in general. So when you say databases, basically what we were able to understand is that it is a centralized repository of logically related data. Okay, so it has one location, and then in that location, users or clients can access the data in the database through DBMS or the database management system. And when y- when database was introduced, eh, it tends the it leads the organization to be more diversified and be able to compete globally with other competitors. So when organizations shifted from from file processing to database approach, they have the option to either use a local database, meaning it is located in a certain location or within the organization, or create a centralized database. So it is the option or it is left in the organization to choose what type of database approach they are going to use. Will it be localized or within local area network? That means that the database can only be accessed once you are in the network or inside the network of the organization. Or if they choose to have centralized database, so the database can be accessed in other locations, but still the data is stored in one or in a central location. Now, given this option of growing organizations grow and tend to expand not only in terms of clients but also in terms of geographical locations, then there has been an issue when it comes to implementing centralized database due to the volume of data access in a certain period. So thus, the concept of distributed databases has been introduced. So before we go with distributed database, let us have first a recall of what is a database and what is a DBMS or the database management system. So when you say database, as mentioned, it is a collection or it is a repository of logically related data, and that is built for a specific purpose. So it may be organized as multiple tables, and each tables represents a real world entity or a real world element, and each table is being characterized by their specific attributes. So a database management system, on the other hand, it is the collection of programs or it is a set of programs that enables the creation and the maintenance of a certain database. So it is through if you can recall your fundamentals of database, it is through the database management system that you will be able to save data into the database and retrieve data from the database. So there is no direct connection between the front end or the user interface directly to the database. Everything will go through the DBMS. So it is the DBMS that is responsible, or it is the software that is responsible for managing the data in your database, meaning it is the role or the responsibility of the DBMS to know where to save the data and how to save the data and how it should be retrieved. So all the data definition and manipulation are being done through the DBMS. Now, what is also a database schema? So when you say a database schema, it is the description of of the database that has been specified in the design. Example, if you can recall your information management, you have the HR. Remember the human resource management database. So when you say human resource database management, that is equivalent to a schema. It refers to the entirety of the database. It has tables and attributes and where you can store the specific data for that for a particular purpose. So if you can recall, when you create a database, you have the command create database. You can also use create schema and then the name of the database. Okay. Now, it defines, or the schema defines the organization of the data and how these data are related to one another and how entities are related to one another. And then there are there are constraints that are associated with each of these data. Databases are often represented through a three schema architecture. So you have the enterprise level, you have external, internal, and the external, conceptual, and you have the logical level. So you have here the three levels of the schema. You have the internal level or the internal schema. You also have the conceptual schema and the external schema, as mentioned a while ago. So when you say external schema, these are, or this is the part of the design that is being used by the management, by the top level management. So it gives an overview of what the database system is all about. When you say conceptual schema, this conceptual schema consists of logical and physical schema. So it refers to the details of your database design. You have here your data models, your ER diagram, your primary key, foreign key implementation. It's present in the conceptual schema. Now, when you do the internal schema, it refers to how you are going to to process or to convert your what do you call this one? To convert the conceptual schema. It is where you do the actual database conversion. So basically, when you say internal level, it is the actual physical implementation of your database. So from conceptual, from your logical design, you're going to create the database as to how it will be, what we call it will be placed in the database. That how you are going to convert your conceptual or your logical level into the physical level, meaning that is the actual saving and retrieving of data into and from the database. Now, let's go to the different type of DBMS. So basically, we have the very first one, we have the hierarchical DBMS. So when you say hierarchical, you have the root, you have here the root, and you have your uh, relationships among data, which is represented by arrow. And the arrows are, I mean, the circles here are the elements or the data elements that exist, or which data element is a parent from one another, from another data. So example, this is your root. So this is an example of a tree-like structure. If you can recall your data structure. So you have your root, and then it has three nodes, and each node has three subnodes, and a subnode can be a can have more subnodes. So in hierarchical database, the data elements do have the parent-child relationship, or what we call the supertype subtype relationship, and this is very simple and fast, and it can be implemented using the tree structure in data structures. Okay. Next is the network database, which is the second type of database after the hierarchical. So it's an improvement of the hierarchical database. We call it the network DBMS, and where the relationships among the data in the database are of type 2, of many to many type, in the form of a network, meaning the relationship from one data to another is of type many to many, forming a network structure. So unlike the in hierarchical, you should always start traversing, traversing from the root. From the root, then to the leftmost node, and then up to the you start with the leftmost part, up to the, pati ang depth niya sa leftmost. That's how you traverse the tree. So in this case, kung mag-traverse ka from root down to here, here, and here. If the data that you wanted to retrieve is from the third node, from the bottom part of the tree, then your traversal will be from the root to the leftmost. Pag wala na siya makita, saka siya. Kung wala siya makita diri, saka. Pag naa siya makita, leftmost sa pod. Kung wala diri, kinaman sa third, saka siya, tanaw niya sa right. Kung naa, diri ang data, then balik siya diri. Isa ka, ibalik sa root, ay dayon ma-display ang data nga gusto nimo i-retrieve. Okay? But in network database, you can start anywhere. So it will traverse the network left and right to see asa na belong ang imuhang data nga gusto i-display. Once ma-display, once makita niya, iya dayong i-display. Now, the structure is generally a more complicated one. This is due to the existence of numerous many-to-many relationships. So it is modeled using a graph structure in data structure. So if you can recall graph, wala day may graph. So it's a graph-like structure in data structures. Okay. Now, after several years, there is an improvement of DBMS. We call it the relational database, which has field, and field represents the column. Then you have your tuple or your record. Okay. So your field name here are SID, name here, and stream. For your records, it represents the rows of your table. So what is inside your tuple? So mo ni siya ang mga value in each what they call it in your database table. Okay, so it's basically represented by a table with rows and columns. Rows are referred to the records, and columns are referred to the attributes or field. So a field can have records. So example, a name can have many records. Tama? The field name has many different records, so many different rows. And we call this sometimes the relation or a table, or and basically in each table you have to identify if it's a weak or strong. If it's a strong entity, then you should have your primary key. And the strong entity depends on the existence of, I mean, the weak entity rather depends on the existence of the strong entity. So if there is no strong entity related to the weak entity, the weak entity will not exist. Okay? So a column is called a field, or we call it also as an attribute, as mentioned earlier. Now, an evolution of database or DBMS, we have also have here the object-oriented. So basically, the object-oriented database management system usually are being or being modeled using UML. So when you say object-oriented, you have here the name, as you can see, the name of your table or the name of your entity. You have here the what do you call this one? Attributes. Then your relationship. Zero means optional, asterisk means many. And example, a bank, zero or more or bank account can belong to one or more customers. So one customer can have zero or more bank accounts, or a bank account belongs to a customer. So unsa notice here na diri sa ubos, these are the functions that you can do with your bank account. Meaning, with a customer that has zero or more bank accounts, kung naa siya bank account, what can you do with the bank account of a customer? You can debit an amount, meaning mag-minus kasi iyahang deposit. You can credit an amount, makadugang ka, maka-add ka sa iyahang account, and you can get the balance of the customer account. So these are the functions in relation to customer and bank account relationships. So when you create an object-oriented database, you have to identify which entity is related. The same with the relational database. How these entities are related? One to many, many to many, zero to one, zero to many. And then it will not it will not end in identifying the relationship between the two entities. But to you also have to include in your table in your table definition, what are the functions that you can do between those, what they call this one, between those tables, and which table should it be placed. Since you are going to do modifications or update for the specific bank account, then do that in the bank account. But if you want to update the customer data, then you can add functions also here under the customer. It really depends on what actions you can do for that particular entity. Functions means actions that you can do to a specific entity. So these object-oriented DBMSs are very helpful in representing both consistent data as stored in database, so that we will know what type of data we are trying to deal with in a specific table or database table. And they are using small reusable elements called objects, and each object contains a data part and a set of operations. So instead of table name, we call this as an object. Then the attributes are called the data parts, and the operations are the functions. The functions that you can do for that particular object are called operations. Okay. So we have, as a recap, we have the different type of DBMS, hierarchical, followed, which is a three-leg structure, followed by a network DBMS, in which it is similar to a graph structure in data structures. Next is the relational database, which is being represented by rows and columns. And lastly, you have the object-oriented database, in which you have object, you have the data elements, and you have your operators. Okay, now let's go to the distributed database management system. So when you say distributed database management system, it uses a small reusable elements called objects. And it contains data part and a set of operations which works upon the data. And in these systems, data is intentionally distributed into multiple nodes, or we call it sometimes multiple sites or multiple locations, so that all computing resources of the organization can be optimally used. So basically, when you say distributed database, the databases are distributed or spread physically across different geographical locations, which then interconnected via network. And all these databases are interconnected, meaning a request or a user request from location one can can be processed by location three or location four. So any location in any location you can send a transaction request. So example, if you have database in the Asia Pacific and you also have another in the Southeast Asia and you have in Central Asia. So if you wish to view all the customers in Central Asia, then you can do that. If you're coming from the Southeast Asia, then you can do that at your end. Or if one side or one country, example ha, in Southeast Asia, the database the server or the database is located in Singapore. And then you also have in the Asia Pacific, you have Guam. And in Central Asia, you have there, when sa Central Asia. Daghang kina sila nga country. Now, when you say distributed database, ang mahitabo, if the company uses distributed database, so example, you are in Japan or you are in the Philippines, Philippines na lang. So, when you're going to update or when you're going to add data into your database, it will look for the nearest location where a database server is located. Now, Philippines we know is nearer or is under the Southeast Asian region. So the data coming from the Philippines will be saved from the or to the Southeast Asian region, a server. However, that data can also be accessed from the Central Asia and from the Asia Pacific region servers. So kung na-ay request sa Asia Pacific region about certain data that is coming from the Philippines, it will be able to access the data from the Philippines through the Southeast Asian server nga location. So that's how distributed database is being implemented. So these are the different features of distributed database. So databases is the collection of logically interrelated data, and they represent a logical database. So data is physically stored in multiple different sites, and each data in the site can be managed by a DBMS, which is independent of the other sites. And the processors in the sites are connected via network. They do not have a multi-processor configuration. And in a distributed database, it does not have a loosely connected file system. So a distributed database incorporates transaction processing, but it is not synonymous to transaction processing system. When you say incorporates transaction processing, meaning transaction requests coming from different sites or different locations. When you say transaction processing system, that is the system that you are trying to use in inventory or in sales. Those are two different things. Now, let's go to the distributed management system or the DDBMS. It is a centralized software that manages a distributed database in a manner as if it were all stored in one single location. So, as an example earlier, we have three different locations for each database. Okay, you have the Southeast Asia, you have the Asia Pacific, and the Central Asia. Now, you have three different locations, as in separate locations, geographical locations. But with the distributed management systems, once implemented, it will interconnect these three databases as if they are located in one location. Okay, remember my example. If a new data is added from the Philippines na site, it will be saved to the nearest database server in which Southeast Asia. Now, if somebody from the Asia Pacific would want to view all the data from the Philippines, it will be able to pull up the data as if it is in the same location, as if it's in a centralized database. So it has an access to the data being saved. It's either an access or it has a copy of the data that is saved in the Southeast Asia na location so that it will be able to pull up the same data. So it is used to create, retrieve, and update and delete distributed databases. And DDBMS synchronizes the database periodically and provides access mechanisms by the virtue of which distribution becomes transparent to the users. So the DBMS ensures that the data modified at any site is universally updated. So meaning any changes made from one database location will be reflected in all other database sites so that all the data are synchronized and up to date from time to time. So it is used in application areas where large volumes of data are processed and accessed by numerous users simultaneously. So DDBMS is designed for heterogeneous database platforms and maintains confidentiality and data integrity of the databases. Now, we also have here the factors why organizations are being encouraged to use distributed database. It's not just any organization, but those organizations that are expanding, that are you have multiple offices in different locations. So you are in or these organizations are encouraged to implement distributed database management system. So what are the factors why DDBMS is being encouraged for implementation for these growing companies? Number one is distributed nature of organizational units. So when you say distributed in nature, as you can see, in a single organization, it composes of different units. Example, you have the HR, you have the sales, you have the inventory, you have the supplier, you have the customer. So so uh you have a number of separate organizational units that are interrelated. So it is one factor that is being used to what I call this one to encourage organization to implement distributed database. And of course, there is always a need for sharing data. So it is ideal that one site will be able to share data to the other sites so that it will it will make data more accessible for others. Okay. Then support for both OLTP and OLAP. So when you say OLTP, that is online transaction processing, and OLAP, that is online analytical processes. Okay. So I think OLAP na discuss na nato na siya sa kuan. Information management. When you implement what they call the data warehouse, you are using OLAP to do that. And most importantly, this encourage to convert to DBMS for database recovery. So as mentioned earlier, di ba, we have three sites, Asia Pacific, and then you have the Southeast Asia and the Central Asia. Now, what if, what if the server in Central Asia will fail? What will happen? So instead of there is a downtime that can be experienced due to the issue encountered in Central Asia, what it will do is that the distributed database will reroute all the transactions or all the requests that is channeled originally to Central Asia server. It will reroute those requests to the nearest location or database location available. Now, since all the requests are being rerouted to another database locations, the what do you call this one? The data in other location is the same as the data katong nag-down nga site, which is the Central Asia. So there will be less downtime and faster ang database recovery because you have created multiple copies of the database in different location. So once the issue in Central Asia is fixed, all you have to do is to copy again the same data from the server where the previous transactions were rerouted. Copy rin yung tanan dito sa Central Asia, then everything is up and running once again. So it is easier for database recovery because you have multiple copies of the same database in different location. Now, support for multiple application software. So when you do distributed systems, you can have different applications using the same distributed database. So if you have a separate system for human resource and another system for customers, then you can use a distributed database for you to be able to have them housed in one database, but of different application. Okay. Now let's go to the advantages. Given that the organization are encouraged to shift from centralized to distributed databases. Now let us take a look of what are the different advantages of distributed databases. Number one is modular development. So you can, in terms of scalability, you can develop module by module. Okay, so one application, once it's stable, you can deploy it and then you can add another module part by part. You can develop part by part. Next is more reliable. So why is it more reliable? Because you will have minimal downtime or zero downtime. Why? Because as mentioned earlier, you have multiple copies of the same database in different locations. So example, kato ko example nga, nag-down ang database in Central Asia, then all transaction requests for Central Asia database server will just be rerouted to the nearest location para dili ma-stop ang operations sa company as if no downtime happens. So pag na okay na, ayaw pa dayon ma-restore dito sa Central Asia nga server. And better response. Why is it uh has better it has a better response time? Because it will the distributed DBMS will reroute you to the server location, not only nearest to you, but also with the lesser traffic. So example, if you're nearest to Southeast Asia pero daghan kaayo ang nag-request, you will be rerouted to another database location where there is less traffic. So example, nalagi ka sa Philippines, so you are nearest to Southeast Asia nga server, pero daghang king data request, then the distributed database management system will reroute you to another location in which lesser ang data request. So example na sa Central Asia. So dito kanya i-reroute. Then you will still be able to retrieve the same data. So mas shorter ang waiting time, ang response time, mas efficient ang processes and lower communication cost. Since lower man ang I mean, since paspas ang atong response time, so ma-lesser, ma-decongest ang traffic, then when it comes to communication cost, mas ubos siya. Okay, you will not be adding more bandwidth just to cater all the data requests. You just have to reroute to another location where traffic is lesser. Now, we go to the disadvantages. There is no such thing as perfect system for us to implement. So we just have to weigh the pros and cons so that we will know which type of database, either centralized or distributed, we will be implementing. Number one is having a distributed database. It is more complex and more expensive when it comes to software. Remember, you will not only be processing in one location, you're going to process in different multiple locations and making sure that each location has the same capacity. Each location is always up and running and making sure that each location you have your own the personnel who specializes for distributed systems. So it's really a more complex implementation and, of course, more expensive one. Processing overhead. There is a tendency that you will have unnecessary processes to be taken for a certain request to be granted because you have to look for the nearest site that you can access the data, and you also have to look for the site which has lesser traffic. So mas daghan na hinuon siyang time and naano hinuon ka additional nga process in locating which area is the nearest and at the same time lesser and traffic sa network. So naana kay processing overhead. Number three, data integrity. So when you say data integrity, it refers to the truthfulness of your database. So you have to make sure that any update from site one will be cascaded or will be reflected to other sites. Meaning, if an update from the Asia Pacific site is created or is being done, that update should be reflected in the server in the Southeast Asia and in the Central Asia. Next is overheads for improper data distribution, meaning unnecessary data placed or stored in an inappropriate location. So we also have here the different data models or database models or DB. So database models captures data in two interdependent respects. Number one, it captures both the data structure and the data content. So when you say data content, it refers to the values actually stored in the database. So unsa man to nga mga values actually that is being stored actually in the database, like the name of the person. Example, Juan de la Cruz. That is your data content. Juan de la Cruz is the actual data saved into the database. While on the other hand, the structure of data, which refers to the data model or DM, it captures many details about the data being stored, including, it does not include the actual data content. Meaning, when you say data model, it captures the details about the data. So, what is that data model is all about? Meaning, how data is being saved into the database, which table should it be saved, what is the format, what is the domain. So, that's what we call the data model. So, in every database, you must at least, sakto ba akong kuan, DB? Yeah, sa data content. In every database, saan na to? Every DB must at least support the ability to create new data content and the ability to retrieve existing data content. This is not group, but it's crude. Dapat D na siya. D. Kaya siya himuon to siyang letter D. So it supports CRUD operations. So unsa na si CRUD operations? Muna siya ang create, retrieve, update, and delete. So these are the four common operations in the database. Meaning create, you are going to create new data content into your database. Retrieve, you can retrieve or you can get the data contents from your database. Update, meaning you can update or modify or edit the data content already saved in the database. And lastly, you can delete the data from your database. But in standard, we are not allowed to delete data in the database. Always remember that. Next, we have here the design principles when it comes to distributed database. So it can either be replication or fragmentation. So when we say replication, this is the process of storing the same database in different locations. Meaning if in location number one, whatever database that you have to duplicate it and the duplicate will be placed into other location. That's replication. Okay. Storing the same copy of the database in all other locations. So it is very popular when it comes to fault tolerance and technique of distributed database. Mo gini siya kasagara ang ginagamit. The advantages na siya ha of data replication. Number one is reliability because you know na kung unsa ang naa ni site number one, it's the same with site number two and site number three and so on and so forth. Reduction in network load because the request will not be concentrated in one location, but it will be distributed in different locations since it will produce the same copy. So mag-sync ra na siya later or mag-update ra later ang imuhang distributed database to synchronize the updates that you have made for each location para makakreate yapang ka og exact the same copy for all your database locations. Quicker response, since distributed ang request, then you will have a quicker response time for every data request and simpler transaction nga mahimo. But there are also disadvantages. Number one is increased of storage requirements. Why is it a disadvantage? Because since you are going to create exactly the same copy of the database from time to time, so mag-add ka pirmi, magdugang ka pirmi og storage nimo. So nagkadako imong database, meaning dapat kaya sa imuhang mga database location ang storage. You should have enough storage capacity. Kung unsa dapat ang storage capacity sa location number one, it must be the same with other locations. And since you're going to replicate, magdugang from time to time, you have to make sure that you have enough storage spaces in each location. So that's nearly a disadvantage. And number two is increase in cost and complexity of data updating. Why is it complex when it comes to data updating? Because periodically you have to always cascade the updates, always make sure that the different database locations synchronize the data updates or the data nga bago nga gi-create. All data should be synchronized periodically. As to how often, depende yun na sa imuha how often. Pwede ba kada oras or whatever. Just to make sure that you will have a consistent database from time to time. Then undesirable application. So that is database coupling. So pwede man unta nga wala na siya, dili ka magkuan, dili na ka mo gamit ana, but due to replication considerations, then you need to use database coupling. So there are three common techniques for replication: snapshot replication, near real-time replication, and pool replication. So when we say snapshot, every time there is an update, your database management or your server will take a snapshot of that uh, date. And then in every snapshot, in every new entry or new update, there is a snapshot. So magset lang dayon as to when it will be synced with other database para ma-synchronize and magparehas sila tanan og sulod. So na kay certain nga oras kung kanus ka mo take og snapshot o kanus ani mo i-synchronize ang mga snapshot sa updates. Next is the near real-time replication, meaning each time nga naay bag-o, i-try ni database og update ang other databases from other locations. So that's what we call near real-time. So ang kapoy lang aning near real-time kay maka-increase gini siya og kaning processing overhead. So from time to time mag-update mag-synchronize. Then we also have the pool replication, meaning kuhaon mo karon in a certain period of time kuhaon mo ang ang na-update ani nga site sa site number one ipasa nimo sa other nga website. So that's for pool replication. Now that's for the replication technique. Now let's go to the fragmentation. So when you say fragmentation, you are subdividing a table into smaller subsets. So these are the subsets of the table are called fragments, and it should be done in a way so that the original table can be reconstructed from the fragments. The requirement is called reconstructiveness. So there are different types of fragmentation. Number one is the horizontal fragmentation. So pag moingkag horizontal fragmentation, we have two types: primary and derived fragmentation, horizontal fragmentation. Then we also have vertical fragmentation and hybrid. So this hybrid is a combination of both horizontal and vertical fragmentation. So we will be dealing of the fragmentation sa next module sa distribution alternatives. We will be discussing what this fragmentation is and replication is all about. So advantages of fragmentation. Since data is stored close to the site of usage, efficiency of the database system is increased. Locally, local query optimization techniques are sufficient for most queries since data is locally available. The advantage is since irrelevant data is not available to the sites, security and privacy of the database system can be maintained. Now, for the disadvantage you have here, when data from different fragments are required, the access speed may be very low. Kaya imo pa man siya i-reconstruct, di ba? Ang characteristic ni fragmentation is you can break down the table into different subtables or subsets, but given those subsets, you can reconstruct the original table. So, pag mag-reconstruct na ka, mas mudugay ang imuhang processing time. Then another disadvantage is in cases of recursive fragmentations, the reconstruction of the original table will need to have more time and more expert of in reconstructing the tables or will be needed. Then third is lack of backup copies of data in different sites, and it may render the database ineffective in case of failure of a site. So it's just totally opposite of the replication. Diba? Remember, in replication, the same copy of the database is being stored in different location. So kung mag-down ang isa ka location, i-reroute ra ka sa nearest database available. In contrast with fragmentation, one site contains different copy from another site. So kung mag-down ang isa ka site, there's no way for you to reroute the request to another server because that particular data is only available in that one site. Now in we also have here what they call the vertical fragmentation. So vertical fragmentation, the fields or columns of the table are grouped into fragments. See, horizontal, it's the rows or the records are grouped into fragments. See, vertical, it's the field or the columns that is being grouped into fragments. And to maintain reconstructiveness, each fragment should contain the primary key field of the original table and can be used to enforce privacy of data. So this is an example of vertical fragmentation. Given this particular database, this one here, given this particular database, you can do vertical fragmentation by selecting the columns or the field that you wanted to include in your fragment. So example, ang yung include, nag-create siya table, name student fees. Ang sulod niya is the primary key, the registered number, and the amount of the fee from the student table. So when you say vertical, you identify the rows which you need to include in the vertical fragment. But you have to remember to always keep or to always include the primary key of the original table in the newly created fragment for you to do reconstruction. Okay? So horizontal fragmentation. You are going to group you are going to group the tuples or the rows of the table in accordance to the values of one or more fields. Then it should also confirm the rule of reconstructiveness, and each horizontal fragments must have all the columns of the original table. So opposite siya ni vertical. Si vertical, you choose the columns. What you will retain in each fragment is the primary key. In horizontal fragmentation, all the columns from the original table will be retained, but you will uh, the fragmentation will take effect depending on the values of one or more field. So let's have an example of horizontal fragmentation. So given the student table, to do a horizontal fragmentation, you have this. You have to create the table, create computer student as select all from student. So tanan di ba nga column. Select all from student where. So this is where the horizontal fragmentation occurs, where course is equal to computer science. It's in the where clause. Meaning ang tanan nga student nga ang course or na-enroll sa computer science maura na siya ang sulod sa computer student nga table. Then hybrid. When you say hybrid, it's a combination of both horizontal and vertical fragmentation techniques. And there is still this, what they call this one, reconstructiveness, and it's more flexible fragmentation technique since it generates fragments with minimal extraneous information. Okay, so two ways to do horizontal fragmentation. First is you're going to generate the horizontal fragment, then generate a vertical fragment from one or more of the horizontal fragments. Then next is first generate or you generate set of vertical fragments, then generate horizontal fragments from one or more of the vertical fragments. Meaning, ang first way is to generate the horizontal fragment. After generating the different uh, the different horizontal fragment, you from the horizontal fragment you extract vertical fragments from the horizontal fragment. On the other way, or on the other hand, you can generate first vertical fragments before you extract horizontal fragments from the generated vertical fragments. That's hybrid fragmentation. So we have here the different database environment architectural concepts. So number one, you have the services. So regardless of the deployment details, we can create logical collection of related functionality called services. So these are merely logical collections, which means that they do not necessarily have corresponding structure duplicated in the actual implementation or deployment. Any piece of software that uses a service consumer, while any type of software implementing the service is called service provider. Components and subsystems. So when you say component, it is simply a deployable bundle that provides reasonable cohesive set of functionality. And when we say subsystem, it is a collection of one or more components that work together toward a common goal. So that's for module one. So I hope that you are able to submit your answers for the questions within the or during that discussion. Thank you, and you can ask questions or clarifications during our face-to-face class or online class. Thank you, and I'll see you then.